because of his language skills. He was assigned to the 2nd Marine Division as a scout and interpreter. In June 1944, the Marines landed on Saipan. It was a brutal campaign. The Japanese military had been heavily brainwashed by propaganda. They were told that Americans were monsters who would torture and mutate them if captured. As a result, thousands of soldiers and civilians were choosing mass suicide over surrender, jumping off cliffs or detonating grenades. Guy knew this was a tragedy and a tactical nightmare. On his very first night on the island, he slipped past his own lines. The commanding officer's reaction. When Guy returned the next morning with 2 Japanese prisoners, his commanding officer threatened him with a court-martial for deserting his post. Did Guy stop? Absolutely not. The next night, he did it again. The strategy. Guy's method was incredibly risky, relying entirely on psychology. He would find a cave where Japanese soldiers and civilians were hiding. He would shout inside in fluent Japanese, using a calm, respectful tone. He would lie through his teeth, telling them they were completely surrounded by a massive force, but that the Americans had fresh water, hot food, and medical aid waiting for them. He would appeal to their sense of honor, promising they would be treated with dignity. It worked. That second night, he brought back 50 more prisoners. His captain quietly tore up the court-martial paperwork. Guy's ultimate test came a few weeks later. He tracked a massive group of Japanese soldiers and civilians to a cliffside near the ocean. They were preparing for a mass suicide pact. Armed with only a pistol, Guy approached them. He was instantly surrounded by armed Japanese soldiers, a lone teenage Marine. Instead of panicking, Guy played the ultimate bluff. He looked their commanding officer in the eye and told him that a fleet of American ships was offshore, ready to obliterate the entire cliffside with artillery. He gave them an ultimatum. Surrender now and live, or stay here and be vaporized. He then handed out cigarettes. He spoke to them not as enemies, but as human beings. The standoff lasted for hours. Finally, the Japanese officer agreed. Guy Gabaldon walked back to the American lines, escorting a column of over 800 Japanese soldiers and civilians. It looked like an entire army was invading the American camp, but they were all marching behind one teenage Marine. The aftermath and legacy. By the end of the battle, Guy had personally captured over 1,300 people, saving countless lives on both sides. The award, Guy was initially recommended for the Medal of Honor, but was instead awarded the Silver Star, which was later upgraded to the Navy Cross, the nation's second highest military decoration.